At 25, I thought I knew what I wanted in a woman. Someone my age, who would go to parties with me on weekends, who got my world. Then she said something that changed how I thought about attraction completely. Just one sentence that stuck with me for weeks and changed how I looked at desire. This is a true story from the human memories, where stories like this come to life. I'm Dylan, and this is the story of how a 45-year-old blonde librarian turned my world upside down. It began on a Tuesday. I was bent over my laptop in the book section of the public library, deep in research for my master's degree at Chicago State University. The library was my safe place. While my friends were on dating apps and at bars, I felt calm among the books. That's when I first saw her, Victoria Hayes, the head librarian. She was in her mid-40s, but didn't look it. She had golden blonde hair. That was always perfectly done. Nice blazers that fit her well, and reading glasses that hung from a thin chain around her neck. When she put them on, there was something very sexy about it. But it wasn't just how she looked. It was how she moved. Sure of herself, graceful, like she owned the whole library. I had been watching Victoria for weeks, pretending to study, but really watching how she moved between the shelves. The way she put books in order so carefully. The way she tucked a stray piece of blonde hair behind her ear when she was focused. I told myself I was just admiring her from a distance. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. The first time we really talked, I was carrying way too many books. A heavy poetry book, my laptop, notebooks, and a coffee cup. You can guess. What happened? Everything fell and hit the floor. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet library. Papers went everywhere. My coffee cup rolled under a table. I just wanted to disappear. Need some help there? I looked up. Victoria was standing over me. From down there, I had a perfect view of her legs in black stockings. My face turned red right away. "I am so sorry," I mumbled, getting to my feet. "I didn't mean to make a scene." She smiled. It wasn't the look I expected, like she was annoyed, but something warm and kind. "Don't worry about it," she said, bending down to help me pick up my papers. It happens to all of us. When she handed me my notes, our fingers touched for just a second, but I felt a spark shoot through me. "American literature?" she asked, looking at my book. "Yeah, it's for my master's program at Chicago State. I'm working on my thesis." Eyes lit up with real interest. "Really? What's your topic?" Most people my age would have stopped listening by then, but Victoria was actually interested. Poetry after the war, and how writers like Robert Lowell and Sylvia Plath used personal poems to deal with tough times. "That's so interesting," she said. "I studied English literature in college. Plath's work is very powerful." She laughed. "I studied it a lifetime ago, before I got buried under meetings and paperwork." "This doesn't look like being buried," I said, pointing around the library. "This looks like being surrounded by everything you love." She looked at me for a moment. Like no one had ever said it that way. "You know what? You're right." We talked for another 10 minutes about books and poetry. Victoria was very smart and had ideas that challenged what I thought I knew. When she left to help someone else, I wished we could have talked for hours. That became our routine. Every time I went to the library, Victoria would find a reason to stop by my table. Or I'd go to the main desk with questions I could have probably answered myself. She was different from the girls I usually dated. She had a confidence that came from life experience. She listened in a way that made me feel like my ideas were important. When she laughed at my jokes, it felt real. When she disagreed with my opinions, it made me think she wasn't just trying to argue. But I also started to notice other things about her. The way her skirts fit her when she walked, how her lips looked when she was thinking. The graceful way she used her hands when she explained something. I started dreaming about what it would be like to kiss her, to run my fingers through her hair. I told myself I was being silly. She was 20 years older than me, probably married and way out of my league. But the dreams kept happening. Changed on a cold Friday night in October. It's been working on my paper for hours. The library was almost empty. Victoria was at the main desk, but I kept seeing her look my way. Around 8:30, she came to my table. "We close in about 30 minutes, she said softly. "Right, I'll start packing up." "Actually," she said, looking around to make sure we were alone, "I have some books in the back that might help you. They're from a private collection we haven't put out yet." My heart started beating faster. I wouldn't want to be a bother. "Sure, not a bother," she said, her voice changing a little. "I think you'd find them very interesting." She led me through a staff-only door into a small storage room. The room was small, so we had to stand closer than ever. I could smell her perfume. It was light and nice and made my head feel dizzy. "This one," she said, pulling out a thin book, "is a first edition of Lowell's Life Studies." She handed it to me, and our fingers stayed together on the cover for a moment. "Victoria," I said, my voice just a whisper. "Yes, I really enjoy our talks more than I probably should." She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're an amazing woman. You're smart, successful, beautiful, and I'm just a student with nothing to offer someone like you." "Dylan," she said, stepping closer. "How old do you think I am?" "I don't know. Mid-40s. "I'm 45, and you're what? In your mid-20s?" 25. She was very close now, close enough for me to see the little gold flecks in her blue eyes. 20 years isn't a lifetime, Dylan. "But it's a big deal," I argued. "You're settled, mature. You probably want things I can't even imagine yet." She was quiet for a long moment, looking at my face. Then she said the words that changed everything. "Men like you don't notice women like me." I stared at her, confused. "What do you mean?" "Mean exactly what I said. Mean like you, young, good-looking, with your whole life ahead of you. You don't see women like me. You see the librarian, the older woman, the adult in charge. But you don't see me as someone a person would want." "That's not true," I said, my voice stronger now. "I see you. I see how much you love books. I see how kind you are to everyone here. I see how beautiful you are. Do you?" she asked, stepping even closer. "Do you really see me, Dylan?" The air between us was buzzing. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. "Yes," I whispered, "I see you." She reached up and touched my face. Her fingers were cool on my warm skin. "I've been hoping you would." "Victoria, I know this is crazy," she said. "I know people would think I'm having some kind of midlife crisis. But I've been thinking about you, Dylan, more than I should." "You have. Every time you come in, I look forward to seeing you. When you're not here, I think about our talks, about the way you listen, about how you make me feel like I'm more than just the librarian." I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we should stop pretending there's nothing between us. Maybe we should find out what this is. What if people think you're just curious about being with someone younger?" She smiled. "And what if they think you're just curious about being with someone older?" "I don't think that's what this is," I said honestly. "Neither do I, but there's only one way to find out." I looked into her eyes and saw she was being open along with being confident. "Victoria, would you have dinner with me? Not here, not as a student and a librarian, but as a man and a woman who are attracted to each other." Her smile was bright. "I thought you'd never ask." 3 hours later, we were sitting across from each other at a small restaurant downtown. She had changed into a black dress that fit her perfectly. The conversation flowed even more easily than in the library, but now there was something deeper underneath it. "I have to ask," I said over dessert, "what made you think I hadn't noticed you?" She laughed, but there was a hint of being unsure in it. Experience. I've been divorced for 5 years, Dylan. I've watched men my age go after women half their age. I've watched younger men treat women like me like we're invisible. Well, they're idiots, are they? Or are they just being honest about what they want? What do you want, Victoria? She was quiet for a moment, swirling the wine in her glass. I want to feel wanted again. Not just needed or respected, but actually wanted. I want someone to see me as a woman, not just a role I play, and I want to be that someone. The next few weeks were a blur. We'd meet for coffee before my classes, take long walks in the park on weekends, and spend hours talking about everything and nothing. Victoria was not like any woman I'd ever been with. She was confident but not scary, experienced but not worn out, and her beauty seemed to grow the more I knew her. She told me about her marriage and how it ended when her ex-husband decided to find himself with a 25-year-old from his office. She talked about her fears of getting older, alone, and her dreams of writing a book someday. I told her about my own worries about the future, my doubts about my career path, and my fear that I was too young to know what I really wanted. But it was more than just talking. There was a physical pull between us that grew stronger every time we met. The way she'd touch my arm when she laughed, how I'd find reasons to touch her hand when we walked, the way we'd stand just a little too close when we talked. One evening, as I walked her to her car after dinner, she turned to me. "Dylan, I need you to know something." "What's that?" "I'm not looking for a quick fling, not trying to feel young again or prove something. If we're going to do this, I need to know you're serious." I stopped walking and turned to face her. "Victoria, I know this might sound crazy coming from someone my age, but I've never felt this way about anyone. You challenge me. You inspire me. You make me want to be a better person." "Good," she said, stepping closer. "Because I'm falling for you, Dylan, really falling, and it scares me." I reached up and held her face in my hands. "It scares me too, but I don't want to run from it." When I kissed her, it was like everything I'd been holding inside was finally let out. She kissed me back right away, her arms wrapping around my neck. The age difference, the problems it could cause, what other people might think, none of it mattered. There was just her, just us, just this perfect moment of connection. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. "Oh, come home with me," she whispered. That night, I learned that being mature and having experience were very attractive qualities. Victoria knew exactly what she wanted and wasn't afraid to say it. She was comfortable with her body, giving with her love, and totally focused in a way that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. Afterward, as we lay in her bed, she drew patterns on my chest with her finger. "I have to tell you something," she said. "What's that?" "I've been setting up our meetings at the library. Choosing books to put away near your table, timing my walks to match when you're there, finding reasons to talk to you." I laughed and kissed her forehead. "I know. You know, Victoria, you rearranged the poetry section 4 times in 3 weeks. Either you're very unsure about the library system, or you were trying to get my attention." She blushed, looking younger than 45. "I'm out of practice with this stuff. I wasn't sure if you were interested, or just being nice." "I was interested," I said, pulling her closer. "I just didn't think I had a chance." "Why not?" "Because you're Victoria Hayes, the head librarian. Smart, beautiful, successful. And I'm just Dylan, a broke student who eats instant noodles and reads poetry on Friday nights." She sat up on her elbow to look at me. "Dylan, you're not just anything. You're smart, passionate, and kind. You see beauty in things most people your age ignore. Do you know how special that is? Is it? Trust me, it is. Most guys I dated at your age were more into partying than poetry, more worried about sleeping with me than getting to know me. And most women I've dated were more interested in Instagram than in having a real conversation. She smiled. So maybe we're both exactly what the other one needs. 6 months later, we were always together. The age difference that once seemed so big now didn't matter. We got through the awkwardness of meeting each other's friends and dealt with the occasional stares and quiet comments. Victoria introduced me to her teenage daughter, Emma, who was surprisingly cool with it. At least he's not some creepy middle-aged guy having a midlife crisis, Emma said in that straightforward teenage way. And he makes you happy, which is more than Dad ever did. My friends were unsure at first, but they changed their minds when they saw how Victoria brought out the best in me. I was more focused on school, more sure of my ideas, and more comfortable with myself. You know, I told her one evening as we watched the sunset from her back porch, "You were wrong about something." "What's that?" "You said men like me don't notice women like you." But the truth is, I couldn't stop noticing you. From the very first day, you were the most interesting person in that library. She leaned against me, fitting perfectly under my arm. I'm glad I was wrong. So am I. People often ask me what it's like dating someone 20 years older. But the truth is, when you connect with someone on a real level with your minds, your feelings, and your body's age is just a number. Victoria didn't make me feel young or old. She made me feel like the best version of myself. I wonder if anyone else has a story about a surprising connection like this one. Sometimes life gives us beautiful relationships when we least expect them, and it's nice to hear those stories from other people.